Excellennial here with another story-based Excel tutorial. Now today we're going to be talking about Megan, the fashion and beauty blogger. Now Megan is working to finalize her website domain name. She wants to have her own beauty blog name under her own domain. So now she's made a list of possible names, but now she needs to put them all together to make a URL. Right now they're separated word for word in different cells in an Excel spreadsheet. How can she do this quickly without typing everything out all over again? So this is the spreadsheet that she has with all of her ideas. You can see that some of them are 3 words, some of them are 4 words, and some of them are even 5 words. So she wants to know how she can put all of these together to make just one URL and not type everything out. Let's say Megan makes makeup. She doesn't want to do that for every single one and have to type the whole thing out. There has to be a faster way. So what we're going to do is actually use the CONCAT function. This is going to save a ton of time and will be a matter of just a couple clicks. So since this is a function, again, we will start out with the equal symbol. So we'll start with equal, and we're going to have the URLs add up and be brought together in column A. So this is why I'm starting out in cell A2. So everything in row 2, Megan makes makeup, that's going to all be added into cell A2 because everything else is in row 2. So that's how we're going to put it together. Now we'll type CON, and that'll bring up a couple of different things related to putting words back together. So in another tutorial, we actually talked about concatenate. Now this is actually an awesome function too, but a part of concatenate is that it adds something in between, like dashes or spaces, and since we're making URLs, we don't need that. So that's a little extra work that we're just going to skip out on by instead using the concat formula, or function rather. So what we need here is we need to select the text that we need to put together. This is only limited to whatever number of text we need to add. So I'm going to give an example of why we're going to select some blank cells. So here, the first bit of text we're going to put together is cell B2. We'll type a comma, and then you can see here it pops up with text 2. Now it wants to know what the second text is. That's going to be cell C2, and then another comma. It pops up with text 3. That'll be cell D3. So technically for this row 2, that is the end of what we need to add. So we could just hit enter, and that's going to add everything together with no spaces and the option of a URL. Like we can make that into a URL. What's the problem with leaving this completely as is? The problem is that it doesn't actually save time for the rest of these items. So if we click this little square in the corner and drag that all the way down, you can see that it adds the text together, but it stops at column D. It doesn't add any of the words from column E or column F. This is why we're going to add some blank cells to that first formula that we made. So I'm going to undo this really quick. We're going to go back in here and click that again. Now we're going to act like we're adding some extra cells or extra text, even though they're blank. I'm going to add a comma and select cell E2, even though it's blank, and then I'm going to add a comma and select cell F2. Now these are blank, but since I've selected these now, when we drag that text down or drag the formula down, it will now select all of the text that we need for each of the rows. So the formula will automatically update to the new row number, and all of the data will add together. So I'm going to press enter and I'll show you what I mean. So this one still looks exactly the same. There's no extra spaces at the end or anything. It still just says Megan makes makeup. But now when we click this little square and drag it down, now you can see it actually adds together everything that we needed. It didn't skip out on column E or F. Now here's what happened. Megan makes makeup is 3 columns in. It's B, C, and D. So it collected that data, and then since E and F were blank, those columns for row 2, that just ignored that those were blank. So nothing was added. It didn't mess up any of our data. Same thing here. Megan Talks Makeup only had data in column B, C, and D. E and F were blank, didn't affect anything. The thing is here, and you can see up here in this formula bar, or if you double click into the cell, you can actually see that this changed to B4. This was B2. The formula here automatically updated to B3. this updated to B4. So now you can see here, it changed it to B4, C4, D4, E4, F4, and now it's actually collecting that one extra word that we needed for row 4, which was fashion. Megan, hair, makeup, fashion. So when we only selected for that row 2, the data that was in column B, C, and D, that means that we can't just copy the formula to the rest of the rows and have it automatically update the row number, which is exactly what's happened. But if we only selected B, C, and D, then this word fashion wouldn't have updated. Or here in row 5, you can see this updated to row 5. We had to add the selection of what was in column E, because now it has Megan, or even this one, Own Your Style with Megan. This is something that we had to still select the text for F, column F, but you can see here it was updated here, and now it actually has all of the data from all of the rows. So when we actually select every single text area, every area we're supposed to be gathering text from with the CONCAT function, we actually should be taking into consideration, if we're going to be dragging this formula down like we did here, we just clicked and dragged this here. If we're going to do that, we want to be sure that we're selecting every piece of data that the other rows might need. So even though row 2 only needed the first 3 columns here, we still had row 6 that needed data from column E and column F. So that's something we want to be sure that we take into consideration when we use the concat function, and we're going to be working on more than just one row. We have to take into consideration that extra data. The point being here though, since we did take into consideration with our formula here, B through F, all of those columns, we took that all into consideration. So now all of the data has been updated correctly for column A, and Megan has a column of potential URLs that she can use all put together without her having to type everything out all over again. So just to be sure, if we wanted to delete all of this data, we'll actually copy this, and then just paste it really quick, paste special, select values in the pop-up, and then click OK. Now when we click into these, the formula is actually gone from the formula bar, and we can delete this additional data, and it won't affect the information we have in column A. So this saved Megan a ton of time. She got to write out all of the ideas that she had, especially breaking them down into different cells so she could see how they look in that way, and then just use the concat function to pull them all together. And she didn't need to have any spaces or special symbols in between them, so she didn't have to use the concatenate function. She only had to use the concat function. If you have any questions about this process, please leave a comment in the section below, and until next time, have fun excelling!